As Margaret approached her home, her heart skipped a beat. Two police cars, lights flashing, came to a screeching halt right at her door. She watched as two officers stepped out, the first tall and stern, the other young and nervous. Margaret felt a chill run down her spine, but managed to keep her composure. "Excuse me," she asked, her voice calm but concerned. "What's going on?" The tall officer barely looked at her, his tone cold and dismissive. "We've received a report of suspicious activity. We need to search your house," he replied. Margaret's brows furrowed, knowing this was against protocol. She suggested waiting for her husband, the police commissioner, to explain. But the officer cut her off. "This isn't up for discussion, ma'am." Without waiting for her consent, they brushed past her, entering her home. Margaret stood by, clenching her dress hem as her sanctuary turned into a scene of chaos. Inside, the officers moved without respect, throwing open drawers, prying into closets, and scattering belongings everywhere. Margaret's heart pounded as anger simmered beneath her calm. Her once peaceful home was being ransacked, every thud and clang deepening her frustration and sense of helplessness. Outside, a crowd gathered. Neighbors watched with concern, judgment, and phones raised, recording each moment. Among them was Officer Adam Harris, watching his colleagues invade a home with such disregard. He felt the weight of his badge grow heavy. His conscience urged him to intervene, but fear held him back. Suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up. Commissioner James Wilson stepped out, his commanding presence cutting through the crowd. Inside, the officers stopped cold. James's gaze locked onto them. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice low and powerful. The senior officer stammered, "Commissioner, this was a misunderstanding." Commissioner Wilson's tone sharpened, anger clear in his words. "A misunderstanding," his voice was icy. "You violated the law, disrespected my wife, and invaded my home. Do you understand the gravity of your actions?" His words hung in the air, leaving the officers shifting uncomfortably, realizing the weight of their actions. The crowd was silent until young Officer Adam Harris stepped forward, his voice shaking but clear. "Commissioner, I was a witness. They overstepped their authority." This wasn't sanctioned. A collective gasp followed. Neighbors looked at him with newfound respect, knowing he had taken a huge risk to speak the truth. One officer muttered, "We were just following orders." But Commissioner Wilson cut him off. "Following orders doesn't excuse breaking the law. Each of you will be held accountable." The crowd murmured, some recording as Commissioner Wilson's words made it clear there would be no cover-up. The incident quickly became city news. Headlines read, "Commissioner takes stand against police misconduct." The swift disciplinary actions sent a message symbolizing the start of real change. For Margaret and James, this was a defining moment of commitment to justice, not just for them, but for the entire community. As Margaret restored her home to its former peaceful state, she felt stronger than before. James, too, was resolute, determined to lead reforms that would prevent such abuse of power. They both knew that real justice meant standing up for what's right, even when it's tough or inconvenient. As we end this story, remember that courage is about speaking up against wrongdoing. Margaret and Adam's bravery reminds us all to protect what's right. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Unfolded Tales Explained and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more powerful tales.